everybody in Breakthrough Land. It is so good to be with you today, and welcome to our weekly Wednesday webinar. And I got to tell you, we have a phenomenal panel for you today, and it has been so popular. All you guys have been talking about it on the group like crazy. And so what a great time to have a really great conversation. And this is going to be all about building wealth through real estate. And let me tell you, our panelists know exactly what that is like. They have both started from humble beginnings in real estate and grew their businesses. And I'm so excited to share them with you. So here's who our special panelists are today. First of all, there is Mr. Brian Pham, and Brian is the owner and the CEO of the Brian Pham Group. He specializes in residential real estate and investing. He is a real estate coach, and he's a great one, by the way. And he's become a top producing agent working only 3 to 4 days a week. How many of you guys would like to have that happen? So this is a quote from Brian. He says, "I absolutely love everything real estate, and it is my mission to help others unlock opportunities to create their legacy through real estate." You are going to really love getting to know Brian here. And next, oh my gosh, so excited. We have Lloyd Ball with us here today. Lloyd is so extraordinary. So he's had more than 21 years of real estate experience, which he gained through key strategic operational roles as a consultant, an investor, and a broker within leading national and boutique firms. Now, these positions included large-scale leadership of multi-million-dollar deals in all 5 main commercial real estate property types. That's hospitality, industrial, multifamily, office, and retail. Now, Lloyd holds an in-residence executive certificate in real estate finance and development from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, awesome school, and he is also an immediate past board of directors of the National Association of Realtors charter member and past board of directors for its Young Professionals Network. Oh, don't you love a good pedigree? Let me tell you what, I love it. Hey, Lloyd and Brian, come on in here and say hi to everybody.
Hey, Cole. Hey, everyone.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How about yourself?
There's Lloyd. I am fantastic. I am so glad to have you guys here today. I tell you what, everybody's been buzzing like crazy that we get to talk about all things investing. Right. So do me a favor, guys, if you are out in Breakthrough Land, just give us a shout out and say, "I'm here." Let us know that you're here. Awesome. We're starting seeing some of you guys. Fantastic. Great, great, great. Are we excited for today? Okay.
I'm excited.
I am glad you're excited too. Okay. So Lloyd and Brian, you guys started in real estate. Elsie says, "Hi, Lloyd and Brian." Good stuff.
Hey,
Good to see you,
Elsie.
Elsie.
Hey, Elsie.
Good to see you, Robin.
Feely.
Love it. Hey, Heather. So a lot of great people coming in and saying hi to us. Well, let's kick off this with a conversation, can we? And maybe you guys could both take us through, where this all started for you, and then let's just kind of build it. I mean, and maybe from the perspective, there's probably a lot of people who are joining us today that have no idea about real estate investing and how to get into it, and they all want to, but it's kind of one of those scary things. So let's have a conversation. Just walk us through it. What do you think?
Yeah, I can definitely relate to those agents for sure. All right. I was definitely in those shoes. And for me, when I was starting off as a real estate agent, my main goal was to get out and get deals. And how do I sell homes? And showing up at one my accountability meetings every other week with one of my past mentors, it just really struck home when I would go in and share my success stories and be like, "Hey, check this out. I just got this deal under contract," or "I just helped this client buy a rental property." And then I figured like my mentor at the time would be celebrating these wins with me. He was like, "Yeah, congrats." But what really stuck with me was, what are you doing for yourself? Right? That's what really stuck home with me. It's like, okay, what do you mean by that? It's like, that's great that you're helping all of these other people build wealth through real estate, but why aren't you doing it for yourself? And as that stuck with me, it really hit home, and I knew that I wanted to become an investor somehow. And it was just starting that learning process of who do I need to know? What did I need to learn? Who did I need to meet in order to make some of these things happen?
Great.
Right.
Yeah, that's good. And before I kind of go into my story, I love how you only work 3-4 days a week. You know that we'll get into that. We got to definitely because that used to give me big anxiety. You know, taking off from work and not answering the phone and not replying to a text. But yeah, I got into the real estate industry very young. I was 19 years old. I had parents in the business. So I had good people like modeling for me, which was great. They weren't really investors, but they worked. My parents worked with investors, or my mom did, as a real estate broker. Came to this country, an immigrant hustler, ended up, you know, creating a grocery store and all kind of small businesses, and then worked at Boeing for a decade or so, and then just got tired of the grind. This is all of our stories, by the way. And then she ended up leaving and going into real estate. And cool part about that is I just bought this property in like Kennydale that is directly next to her first office. And it's one of those things that you know, it's a small trophy. It's nothing one of those things you're like, oh, wait a minute, this is where my mom used to work. But long story short, you know, I had the modeling, but that's not what propelled me into investment. The first book I read was the Robert Kiyosaki book. You know, we all know this one. And there was a part in there where his wife wanted to get a Jag. And so instead of going out and buying it, she got a rental property that created cash flow that made payments for the lease because it was smarter. All of this stacking of value and strategy is what got me excited about the real estate industry. So my first year, I got my real estate license, my loan officer's mortgage broker's license, and then I bought my first house. My first day of real estate is 9/11, the 9/11, 2001.
Wow, Lloyd. Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
So I'm driving out to a property with my mom, you know, because I'm shadowing her, and the client calls on the cell phone. It was a big one this time, back in 01. And they're like, well, have you heard about what's happening? So we ended up turning around and leaving. And so for the next couple of months, I was just kind of on the couch trying to figure out what to do. And investment was always very much a big like draw, because that way that's how you get rich, right? That's how you become like these big real estate moguls. But the strategy behind investment is what really as a broker is what really got me going, because at 19, 20, 21 years old, 2 big hoop earrings, 2 pinky rings, a chain that had an L on it. I mean, like, I was rough around the edges, guys. How could I get people to trust me? I bought my first house, and from there, I realized that when you got the deal, everybody will do business with you when you got the deal. When you have the deal, then what? What are they going to do? So I really got passionate about finding opportunities, whether they were on the market or off the market. Off the market, 70% of my career is just off the market. You won't even see my deals. And then creating that opportunity, packaging it, the marketing of it, making it marketable, and then seeing the way through the deal and presenting it. Because toward the latter part of my career, I realized that people with money just are people with money. Money does not equal anything. People end up with capital. And so I lost a lot of fake, it wasn't warranted respect for capital, because capital has no IQ. Capital doesn't know the neighborhoods. Capital cannot make a relationship. It's the person who has to give it first and have to have the purpose in their heart first. So Yeah, it was just it's been a great journey. It's been a great ride. I think I've been talking for too long.
So,
So
well, and I'll go ahead and let's jump in with a question here, guys. All right, now, um, first of all, great stories for both of you. I love this so much. That's great. Okay, so let's pretend I am an agent. Maybe I've been in the business for, I don't know, 15 years to even 20 years. Never knew about investing, didn't know how to even start. So where do I start? How do I even, like, for example, money is going to be a big thing that people are going to ask questions on. I hear that all the time. Where does the money come from? How do we do investing? How do you find those properties? And then how do you build up that portfolio?
mhm. Yeah. As a broker, you're in a unique position to see the flow of inventory, the deals, and have a really good tap on the market, really good pulse. In fact, your clients don't have the available data that you do as a broker. And more times, I found myself leaving meetings with people who I thought would have the information, would have the stuff. They don't have it because they're not seeing the deals. They just weren't seeing as many deals as I was. And there's just nobody that's going to beat the person that knows all the houses on this street, and they sold the one on the next street and the one on the next street. These types of data points and information, school districts and demographics and where market and where a city is trying to go, these types of things, we don't think that they're real estate investment stuff, but I use everything all the time to do every deal. And that's important because we'll lose that confidence thinking we didn't see the numbers. We didn't see all of the things. Did we get this inspection? Did we get that? And we kind of get lost in all of that. And we don't trust our gut. So what I would say is to start your investment career and journey, take inventory of what you know, the markets, the types of houses, the cues that you hear from your buyer clients that are like, ooh, I love this, especially in a market right now where a flaw is 10x a flaw, right? People will put up with the driveway that's like this, but now it scrapes the front of my car. No, we're not, next house, right? When it's a buyer's market, this is what happens. And I've represented residential buyers in the first half of my career, and I've shown someone like 60 houses before, before they purchased during the last recession. And so take inventory of what you have. There are lots of guides, coaches, and coaching programs just like this that will kind of like guide you along your journey and point you out to books. But it's a buy low, sell high. That's it. And the vision and mathematics, you put those two together. What you can see, what it costs today, what is it going to cost to get it to be that vision? And then if that's big enough, everything else will come into place. Your financing, because your ratios will be great. Your contractors, because you can pay them the right amount. You don't have to skimp. So, okay. The vision, though, it creates a bigger box.
I love that. So Brian, let me ask you this question. I love what Lloyd is saying there. So, okay, I start off with understanding my market, because if I'm going to invest in something, and Lloyd, I think this is what we're talking about. If I'm going to invest in something, I need to know what's going to sell. I need to know that market well enough. So Brian, take me through kind of what your thoughts are on that and how someone might get started understanding that, having that knowledge.
For me, it's like, I think Lloyd hit the nail right on the head. And I went back to a wealth building seminar a few years back, right? And what was said there was like, hey, as brokers, we're essentially inside traders, right? Any other industry, we'd probably be behind bars for knowing what we know and can be able to execute based on what we know in this industry, right? We have all this data in front of us. The consumer basically doesn't have as much data as we have. So why aren't we taking advantage of some of these opportunities? Right. And
Yeah.
then kind of like what Lloyd was saying with capital and money is out there. And as a new agent, I think that was the biggest thing for me. It was like, okay, I'm a new agent. I'm struggling getting my first couple commission checks. How do I go out and start investing for myself? But then again, knowing this data and really knowing it, that's the value you could provide that gets you some of this capital and some of this partnerships that gets you up and going and started, right? For instance, my first flip, my first investment property, I wasn't able to carry all those costs by myself, but I did have the knowledge, I did have the resources. And then the capital just came to me because of that, right? It just made it easier for me to find those deals.
How did you make those connections then, guys? How would someone has no idea kind of where to look and where to start find those kind of connections?
Man, there's so many places now. And I think there's so many people that want to get into the investing that people are creating platforms for people that are brand new and to the people that have been doing it for multiple years. There's Facebook groups for networking groups that you can join that people are willing to share their resources, contractors, private hard money lenders. It's putting yourself out there and being willing to learn. And that's what it took for me. It was like, when someone told me that, hey, what are you doing for yourself? That was my first instance. Like, who do I need to know? Who do I need to meet? And that kind of stuff. So I just branched out and just started having connections, right? Whatever that took.
I love that.
And I love what you said, Brian, because as a broker, we have a 3% advantage against people who are not brokers. And when you think like a broker, or if you think like a flipper, that it puts you in a situation where it's very short-sighted. I say less clients, more partners, more partnerships. And then think outside of the box of, we put ourselves in that 3% commission box, and that's why you're going to get 3% and not ownership. Literally, it's just, how do you present yourself? That's why I retired from brokerage in 2020, because I don't ever want people to think of me as 3%. I'm not 3%, I'm 100%, or a joint venture, or we're just friends. So, but that 3% advantage that you have as a broker, you can pay 3% more than the average market person, right? So it's more than just the data. It's your positioning in the deal. And what was one thing that I told you, Brian, the first day that we met at a property? Brian has a property that we're buying under contract right now. I said, hey, if you really love this, if you want to roll in your commission as equity, I'm just saying, like, that opportunity is on the table. When a buyer offered me that one time, I think his investment company, I think Rainier Pacific or something, I was like, yeah, let's go. And we didn't even do the deal, but it opened this place in my mind to think, wow, the client offered to involve us in a deal, my team, me and my business partner, if we rolled our commissions in. So there's value that we bring as real estate professionals to the table that if you just point it out, like how people don't know what you guys do as real estate brokers, right? Like, you've seen the list, it's everything, even counselor and babysitter sometimes. I've taken somebody's mom to the airport, just offered, I don't know, just out of the goodness of my heart. But it's one of those things where if you just laid it out the proper way, and there's so much information about how to do this, by the way. I don't want to give it too much practical because it'll take forever. However, if you just start thinking this way, then all of those pieces will come to you. All those bullet points of all the things you can do in a deal. I found myself doing the whole deal as a broker. I hooked you up with the lender. I hooked you up with the property. I told you what to do with it. I gave you the strategy. I gave you the costing. I gave you the GC. Why didn't I just sign on the dotted line and be the buyer?
Love
You know what I mean? That's what made me make the shift and the switch.
It's so fantastic. So here's what I'm hearing. First of all, we need to be resourceful, right? So it's not only shifting the mindset instead of thinking that, well, let's take it from here. Robert Kiyosaki in Rich Dad Poor Dad, basically, he says you go from being employed to self-employed. So a lot of you guys out there who are watching this, you're self-employed realtors, right? Then we go to business owner and we start thinking in very different ways to business owner and then investor, which is so exciting. And sounds like what I'm hearing from you guys, you made a real big mental shift between going from self-employed to business owners and then investor. And you started doing a lot of research. I think that's what I was hearing you say, Brian, is you put yourself out there, you start talking to as many people as you can. You're right, there's a lot of Facebook groups that you can join, places you could learn, certainly even from you guys and being relationships. Then Lloyd, you're saying, okay, how do we then make that mental shift saying, instead of being the person that is just providing the service as a real estate broker, it's going, wait, flip that script. Why don't I become the buyer? Why don't I become the investor? Am I saying that right for you guys?
Yeah.
100%. And then I would add to that is like, for us agents out there, let's switch that mindset up a little bit. Anytime I go into a listing appointment, it's not how do I list your home? It's how do I obtain this home for myself? And if I can't obtain it for myself, I have a investor client that would probably take it on, or how do I partner up to obtain this and move forward with it? And worst case scenario, this is how I'm going to list your house and get you top dollar for it, right? And I think that was the mindset shift for me. It was like, rather than going in and try to get every listing, it's how do I obtain that house for myself?
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's good. And there's this strategy that I heard of someone doing maybe like in 2014, and we've kind of heard of, you know, Compass and Compass Concierge, and they were you know, giving money out so people could remodel their houses and bring good product to the market, like it was Macy's or whatever, you know. But I heard a guy in 2014, he worked at Prudential or something. He was already doing this. He had his own money. He had maybe like $300,000. And he did, I don't know, 20 deals a year. But the way he was doing it was he would and it would be a partnership, kind of like a net listing type of thing. And I don't know legal and all of this, but I swear, if you guys start being scared about legal and dual representation and all this stuff, you don't need to be an investor, period. Because like, if you follow best practices are just to keep you safe and out of trouble. Best practices aren't the best. And the best ideas aren't in real estate. They're all over the place. They're outside. The best marketer is not in real estate. The best, you know, so you gotta look out for those resources. Start building your team with those resources.
So really, you're talking about just expanding your whole purview instead of saying, okay, the only place that I can go is to real estate people for this. You're going, let's blow this up. Let's really think of who else can be a part of this, not just people who are in the real estate industry.
And what else? You got to travel. You got to see things. The more that comes into your eyes, the more vivid your dreams can be inside your head. When I went to Africa for the first time, I saw that the dirt was red. I didn't know that. All I could imagine what Africa was like was from the movies, and it's nothing like that. It's different. Right? You get in the shower and you're washing all the red dirt out of your hair. It's, you know, where I went. So the more vivid, you got to get these things in your eyes. Yeah, absolutely. And you got to look outside, because now you would know that if they put a Chick-fil-A in Bellevue, it's lines around the corner. Now you know. But if you went to, let's say, Charlotte, North Carolina, and ate at Chick-fil-A 2 years before that happened, oh, you would know, right? You would know. So you have to get out and you find those things from outside of the industry. And then when you bring them in, it creates this X factor and this black box idea. You bring ideas from New York to Seattle, people are like, oh, I don't know, living in a 250 square foot studio, and the bed comes down from the ceiling and the closet opens up out of the wall and all this. Nah, man, people will jump on stuff if they haven't seen it before. If they've never seen it before and you bring it to the table and you have that confidence and that brand and those ideas behind it, and you set the scene, people will pay more for something. And this is an international city, by the way. So there's all kind of people from all over. Have you seen Wallingford? Have you seen like Fremont? It's weird. Those houses are weird. It's a lot of like, you know, decades and decades of renovations happening, and they're put together, and you got small closet and a big bedroom. And so, you know,
and let me pause you right there for just a second, Lloyd, just to let everybody know, both Brian and Lloyd are in the Seattle, Washington area. So that's kind of the places he's talking about. We're kind of national. No, you're good, Lloyd. This all good.
You're a
This
big
is
guy.
great.
I love that.
Right. Do you know one thing that I'm hearing you say, and I'm going to step back for a second, because so much of it is about your mindset. And what you're saying, I have said for years, the more and more that you can expand your mind, and the more and more you can feed the brain with new ideas, new thoughts, reading every single day, researching every single day, not just in our own industry. Am I hearing that from both of you guys? Brian, I know this has been a really big thing for you for a lot of years, is really about mindset and just expanding the brain, right?
Yeah, it's like capturing like what's possible and dreaming bigger, right? We're always told to dream bigger, especially when during goal setting. It's about goal setting time right now, right? As we prep for next year, it's like, okay, these are my goals. What can I do that in a shorter amount of time? How can I replace my production with passive or active income streams, right? So it was having that mindset, and then, okay, going out and doing, being open to failing forward, right? It's like there was a lot of fear, you know, uncertainty out there for me, especially when the money as a new parent was around, right? I became a new parent. It was like, how do I start investing some of the savings that I have for like my daughter, and then going out and trying to invest it in something that I wasn't 100% certain on. And it's like, then I just had to ask myself, is like, what if? Right? Like, what if I'm able to do this? What if I'm able to do this at a high level and accomplish all this in a short amount of time? Am I able to start working 3 to 4 days a week where I can start spending a lot more time with them? Right? That was my mindset.
Ask a better question.
Yeah. And it's a privilege and an honor to have this information that I have, and the experience that I've gained over the years. It's not easy. It's not easy to jump in. And I know it's not easy to make that mental shift of laying out 150,000 for an investment flip, you know, that's your down payment, or getting a hard money loan that is acquisition capital for something that needs fix up, that can't be traditionally financed, and then paying 10% interest rate. It's a lot. It's not an easy decision to make and to jump into. But when you're certain about a property, when you know, and that takes time to have that confidence. It's not just going to come right away. And it's going to take time to get all these pictures and images in your head. But I promise you this, it compounds. There's something about experience that, like, there's something about vets that I respect so much, that I didn't really have that when I was in my 5th year in the business. But now there's guys that I can call and gals that I can call, and they have the answers, and they know the whole way through, and they know all the details. And we've been running together for 20 years. We've been friends for 15 years. You know, we did this, and when we were on a, you know, like we were both at levels where we weren't investing. We had clients, we strategized, and we teamed up together, and I would, you know, send them my clients. That's why lenders love real estate brokers, because, you know, those partnerships generate leads and resources for those lenders. So start maybe building relationships with the hard money and private capital. Hard money is the space for investors. There's a lot of people that aren't bankable, that just like me, I probably cannot qualify for a house right now, but I just bought a 160 room hotel, right? I could qualify for that financing. But if I start sending over a personal financial statement to a residential lender, they're gonna, I need this, I need that, how we explain this and that, and you know what I mean? So though that group is very specialized, and then there's meetups, and it's an ecosystem. It just evolves, and then there's wholesaler groups in these, you know, the investment like groups that Brian was talking about that you can find. There's really great ones out there, definitely in our market, but this is, you know, real estate investment is worldwide. So you will find your resources and you'll find your people, and just, you never know who someone's going to be. You never know. So treat everyone like they'll be the president of the United States one day, because it could be true. And you'll run into somebody. There's somebody that I partnered with on a deal that, like, they would have been the greatest client for me like 10 years ago. I never did a deal with them, but we've been friends for so long. And then we ended up roommating in, you know, on this guy's trip. And then he becomes my, you know, my partner in a deal in the latest, one of the latest deals we did. And it's just a great story, but you just never know who someone's going to be. And so all of the experience, all that you gather, all the relationships, all those things are useful. There is no wasted time. You might think that you wasted some time learning about title and escrow, or you wasted some time learning about contracts, or you wasted some time and you didn't get right to the money. But it's just like property value. If you look at it today, you're going to get today's value. That's it. There's no context around today's value. But we know that in the context of time and history, the value is going to increase. And that's just like the knowledge and maybe the way you're feeling right now. Like, I don't know how to step into it. Some people will just go, like me, go, make mistakes, fail until they acquire the experience. And I did fail plenty of times. I came in 20 when I was 19, and I had houses, and I had like 5 houses and houses and projects. And then I had a condo in Las Vegas, and it was 2007. And I bought my primary residence in like December 2007. And so boom, the market goes down. Yep. Our head lender, Trump Tower Las Vegas, was Countrywide. Countrywide goes down. And so I had to take all 200 loans from bank to bank to bank, the hedge fund, private equity group, hearing, yeah, we'll do it. And then the credit officers are like, no, we don't have the money. But those kinds of things, like they beat you up. But it showed me a bigger world. And every time you got to take something out of the moments, out of the tough times, you got to take something back, or else it'll just be like, oh, that was bad. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it. But you deserve to earn something from the stripes and from the blood, sweat, and tears.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, it's why I have right here, I've got, you know, be fearless, because you're right. We fail for it. By the way, every agent who is watching this right now, if you've been around the business for a while, you have failed forward. You have lost out on a deal because you didn't know something about something. Either you didn't know how to handle the objection, or you didn't know enough.
The worst feeling too.
Oh, it is. It sucks. But you learn from it. And the next time you grow, what I'm really getting the sense of from both of you guys is that even if you're afraid, you lean in. It's like, you know what? Okay, I'm going to learn from that thing. I'm going to grow. And then Lloyd, what you said was just so wonderfully profound to me. And I really hadn't thought about it this way. So I'm so glad you brought it up, is that you never know who's coming into your world. So keep people in your world and keep expanding that network, and then keep leaning in with those folks. And now all of a sudden you're like this master at investing, not only, doing residential, but you're doing big commercial things now, right?
Yeah.
Am I correct on that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're on a run right now. We're in downtown Seattle. We've got the South Lake Union right across the street from Apple HQ in Seattle. We're managing that hotel. It's a lot, it's hundreds of units. It's lots of real estate that we've been able to acquire, and we did all of this. And this is crazy, but this just goes to show how experience can. We bought our first I had like 5 homes or 4 homes in 2020. I only had 5 keys. Now it's hundreds of keys. And that's because, and we did that in COVID, in commercial markets. I got my butt kicked in 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010. It dragged on. It hurt. I had all my properties. I had properties I wasn't paying rent on. Paying mortgage on for years. And I was still collecting rents. And I was just trying to figure things out and stabilize, and then get my real estate career back on track. It took some time, but getting beat up like that and finding my way through it, working short sales. I did short sales for a year, and I did like 80 of them. And then I'm like, I hate this. And then I did something else for a year and all of this stuff. But because of that, when I saw 2020, I went all in. And because of what I'm seeing now in the residential markets, we're gonna go all in. Because right now is when you want to be developing and bringing property to the market in 2 years from now. I don't necessarily want to be bringing real estate, new construction to the market in a year, but in 2 years, oh man, it's going to be real nice. So right now, again, we're ahead of it, but that's all in here, and that's all in here, because you guys can look at the numbers and say, oh no, the market's going to this and this, and I don't know how it's going to, but I know what I know, and I know my markets, and I know my property types, and I know the people that hold those properties. And there's a lot of people who don't have a lot of energy anymore. They can't take another hit. They would rather just and that's why you see this thing called the wealth transfer.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you transition that, because based on that kind of story, I can relate that to a broker, right? So for me, it's you're so much forward thinking that's how I started my career. It's okay, when I started my career in real estate, and I had all these buyers, but I really wanted to get these listings. Mentors, my new agent coach at the time, right, would always tell me buyers become sellers, right? And that stuck with me. Okay, so in order for me to get listings in a couple of years, let's work on first-time home buyers, right? And then that transition to who's always buying and selling? Well, investors. How do I find deals for them? And then how do I get those list backs if they further develop these properties, right? And then that's how I started thinking. And then, okay, then it became, how do I start getting into these projects myself?
Mm-hmm.
That's
right?
good. That's good. Get investor clients. Start with the investor clients. And here's the cool thing about investor clients. You don't need a buyer's agency agreement. They'll buy. They will buy from you if you have the deal. So with investment buyers, they're not just buying one time. They're perpetual buyers and sellers of real estate. And so what I did, this was very early on, I built a list of all the investors that I knew. And then every time I got something, I would send it to my list. It's basic, right? Over the years, I perfected this. And because I wanted to organize my career and organize my business so there was more alignment. So I built a private client group. And what that was my top 10 in multifamily, my top 10 in office, and then my top 10 in mixed use and development. And then so I had these lists of different criteria. And so whenever we got something that fit the criteria, it would go to the top person first. It's always a phone call, top 3 type of thing. And so I built my own market, and I only looked for what these people wanted, right? Because if I looked for stuff that they didn't want, then it'd be a waste of time. I'd end up being spam in their email. So it got really, really tight to where I'm on the phone with people, and now I'm talking like, yeah, we're going to do this deal. And the buyer hasn't even seen the property yet. You see what I mean? And that's, and then I elevated naturally to the point where it was like, dude, you need to be doing this, man. What are you,
Absolutely.
what are you
Absolutely.
doing?
Do you know what? It's interesting. It's like, okay, so everybody watching here, you all have a database. What we think as agents, we think there's investors and then there's my database. And you don't realize sitting inside that incredibly valuable database of yours are investors that maybe don't even know they're investors yet. How can you start where you're at? You have got investors inside it. You got more than 200 people in your database. You've got an investor in there somewhere, or several, or people who wants to be investors. So learning how to do this craft, finding people like Brian, finding people like Lloyd, and saying, okay, how do I really start communicating with these people? And then how do I end up building that and building that out and building that out until more and more people are coming into my orbit? Am I right on that, guys?
Yeah, 100%. And I think it starts with like sharing success stories, sharing your knowledge, and being an open book, because that opens up curiosity to your database. And once those conversations start, you figure out, okay, what are these people like really wanting? What are their, you're essentially a solution to one of their problems, right? So what are they looking for? What would they like to invest in? What would an extra $10,000, $100,000, $500,000 do for them and their families? Like, how do we create this path and a vision and action steps for them to execute so they can be on that path to building that wealth for themselves, right? It's just like, okay, what's really important to you, right? How much risk are you willing to take, right? Because if we partner up and I provide you with the knowledge, I can't make the decisions for you, but I can help you educate you enough so that way you can make the decisions for you and your family. And then it's just providing them with all the solutions, right, to their problems, and they just keep coming back.
Love it.
Yeah, you certainly can build up individual. There's a lot of people. It's actually part of culture now to invest, to understand money, understand Bitcoin, understand the value of things. So there's a lot of people that are very interested in this topic, and you get yourself a couple good resources, like a book. You get something that you're giving out all the time. Be the resource person. And here's the thing, I heard Russell Branson. I can't remember. Yeah, I think Russell Brand. He said this. He said, if you want to be a part of something, like an actor, right? He's an actor, comedian. Be in service to that thing. If you're in service to that thing, like, be the person who's saying hi to everybody at the meetup, at the investment meetup. Just be a part of the community. Dive in and help out and be of service. And as you do that, you'll start to build. It happens. If you're if you're trying to like count all the cards you gave out and all the connections that you made, you're not doing it right. You're just not doing it right. And you don't have enough confidence in yourself to know that if you're a resource, you'll draw people into you. Draw them into you. And you don't have to take what you can get when it comes to these investors. Don't take what you can get, but definitely use what you have inside of your network and the people that you currently have, but then go build what you want. Build the business you want. So when I made that private client group, I said to myself, what kind of properties do I know best? What kind of properties do I like and am I interested in? And then I found people to fill those positions in my dream and in my business, that I created. So use what you have, all the people, and then build the business that you want. And don't take what you can get, because there's a lot of people out there that, that, as you'll see, they're just like us. They're just trying to figure it out. but that's something we can't control, is this mindset thing, them pulling the trigger. There's been so many deals that weren't done, and I couldn't point to it. Why? It was their mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, and that's another reason why it's like I do myself, because I put my check, I based it on their confidence and on their path, not my own. So find people who are on that path and that are certain about what they do. We've done this. We did this one on Cherry Street or whatever. Just like this. All things start to make sense when you're working with people who are just working it. And
Yeah.
it isn't a step-by-step process, but we're peppering out ways and resources and bullet points out there.
Yeah.
It'll
It's
come.
such good stuff, Lloyd. I'm serious. It is just such good stuff. And it just comes down to, like, we all know this. This is a relationship business. This is regardless of whether you are simply do residential reselling, you're not in investing, but as you get more and more and more into this business, you realize that it's all about the relationship. It's who you know. And putting that vision out there and then partnering with people who have the same type of vision that you have. I love what you said there, Lloyd. I really, really, really do. Okay, so Pat, next couple of minutes, we've only got a couple minutes left. So what would be the number one or maybe two pieces of advice that you would tell an agent that says, I hear you, I'm in? What's the very first step or two that I should do, action I should take after this webinar? What should I do? What's the first thing I should do?
I guess for me, it's just very similar to being an agent, right? You got to know your numbers, right? So know your numbers, know your numbers, know your numbers, and then being resourceful, leverage, right? What can you leverage out in all this kind of stuff? Do I know wholesalers that can bring me deals that I can present to my clients? Whatever it is, those are the two things that I took away. And to go back a little bit on you don't know like who you're going to end up working with or something like that. I kind of want to bring up this little quick story that about 5.5 years ago, I was at some convention, and they're talking about expansion systems and being a social agent and stuff like that. And the host happened to be Lloyd that day. Right. So I actually sent a screenshot to Lloyd probably like a week ago of like, check who's actually the host. So like 5.5 years ago, I was in the crowd watching Lloyd speak. And here we are, fast forward 5.5 years later, I'm actually working with Lloyd on, big commercial deals, which is kind of cool.
Love it.
So
how fun is that?
You just don't know, right? So for me, it's like, know your numbers, use your resources, just like an agent, but with a different mindset.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good. Yeah, what the circle back. That's crazy. But people, it's people. So I am a people investor. I've said that, real estate's going to go like this, but people, they can hit a huge, what do you call that? Exponential growth.
Hockey stick growth. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And so investing in the community, these communities, and spending time and getting to know people, there's going to be a lot of issues in the real estate market coming up, investment markets in residential. There are developers that had townhome developments or residential developments that will be overextended. There's going to be pain in certain places and complications and difficulties. And that is the best place, one, to learn, two, to gain some really some camaraderie and loyalty with people, helping them in tough times. This is a good time. You might even find yourself in deals, by helping. They're like, well, do you want to? You'd be surprised. You would be surprised. I've got some people right now that I developed this land, sold it in 2021 to a developer. they're kind of in trouble. And then I might be able to step in and then just sign back for the loan. I mean, and get it back. And I didn't even own the property. I was a broker back then. So it's like, and put nothing down, guys, nothing down. People, I'm saying people, that story is just, we're helping them with a problem. It's a win-win, but it's a really big win for us because it's something we can actually do and see all the way through.
Love it.
But finding these communities and these groups, and then maybe make your own if you have to. You know, I didn't fit in anywhere. So basically, if I don't fit in anywhere, then I fit in everywhere, you know, as myself, the guy who doesn't quite fit in. So there's, yeah, all the same stuff applies in getting customers and clients. You just have to kind of change your mindset and change the conversation, and the things will start to come to you.
Love it.
Those
Love
partnerships. Yeah.
Guys, you have been so incredible. By the way, guys, at the end of this video, you will see contact information for both Brian and for Lloyd. And I got to point out something that was really cool just now. So Elsie in our chat, she said, it's easier to purchase investment property versus your primary residence for sure. I've experienced this, lots of great deals in Alabama. And guess what Brian did? I look forward to connecting. So you're always looking for those relationships. Is a perfect example right there. So we'll make sure we get their contact information out to you guys. And then one thing I do want to share with everybody here is you should know, hopefully by now, but you may not know that we have an incredible program at Breakthrough RE called 12 Weeks to Breakthrough. One of the things I love to do is I love to sit down with agents just like you and really talk about your business and strategies. So you can take it even from basic real estate to really growing your business to even growing your investment portfolio. So we can talk about all those things. So you can just click on this QR code and hear all about it. We can go ahead and sit down and schedule a conversation. And then for those of you who are not part of our Facebook group yet, we'd love to have you there. If you're an experienced agent, simply go to facebook.com/groups/breakthrough RE. Guys, you have been extraordinary today. I so appreciate everything that you've shared with us. This was really powerful. So appreciate you.
Thanks for having us, and thanks for Lloyd for letting me join in on this convo. I love hearing this kind of stuff all the time.
Yeah. Love it, guys. All right, everybody. Thanks for showing up today. We so appreciate you, and we will see you next Wednesday. Bye.
Bye.
Once again, I'd like to thank our amazing panelists today. First one is Brian Pham with the Brian Pham Group. You can reach Brian at brianpham@kw.com, or you can call him at 425-442-9384. And then, of course, there is Lloyd Ball with Rebel X Partners. You can reach him at lloyd@rebelxpartners.com, or you can call him at 206-947-5053. Thanks, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you next time.